So let's recap. Almost exactly time. So green design, I would say, is simply appropriate technology. And before you embark on any retrofitting program, assess your building. Have a complete set of as-built plans. If you don't have it done, have it made. Do an energy audit, both in terms of quantity and cost. Do a building survey, analyze the environment of the building and everything in the building, all the factors affecting the building. Do an equipment survey, find out how much you're actually using up in maintaining your equipment. Then in greenovation, we talked about these 6 items. First, building envelope and fenestration. We talked about heat, blocking it off, letting light in, and controlling the air coming in and out. And we also talked a little bit about universal design. Look at air conditioning, the most important aspect of power consumption in a building. Let's see if we can make it energy efficient, from simple plain maintenance all the way up to maybe looking at more efficient systems. Lighting, to look at it more efficiently. At the same time, remember that zoning, if possible, rewire things so that you turn on the lights farthest away from the window separately from those beside the window. If possible, recycle water. Materials, make sure that you're healthy materials and you maintain a good indoor air quality. And then look at renewable energy. Every day, as Architect Garcia mentioned earlier, every day there's something new in this field and costs are going down. So be aware of it, know how solar systems work, so at least you can prepare your building for it. Because then maybe the next time you do retrofitting, you can consider maybe these other renewable energy sources. Joke time, so that you're not so bored, is the lead guy. The lead guy, so these are 2 architects. So the lead guy says, I've got good news and bad news. What's the good news? Your building is very green. It earned the highest possible LEED rating system called Platinum. And the bad news, the building is still ugly. You know, with all the green building rating systems, there's no points for beauty. So sometimes, in the effort sometimes of people trying to come up with a green building, sometimes it is forgotten, that part. Hey, look at my building, a sort of antennas, with some antennas sticking out, some air ducts, and some trees growing out of every single corner in the building, Wow. So anyway, something to think about. Energy efficiency is good, but we are architects. Let's also make sure that we have a very pleasant environment. The question earlier for cost of green, outrightly. 2008 survey of Asia. What is in general the cost of green? 16% higher than a normal building. Okay? This is all over Asia, which includes technologies like solar panels and all these high-end things. Okay? But in exchange for that, 13% higher ROI, 30% reduction of operating cost, 3% higher occupancy rate, 3% higher rental rate, and 14% increase of building value. So, okay, admittedly, it is a little bit more expensive than a normal building, but returns are much greater, and you will offset that cost in its operation. This one I just say, for example, in terms of construction cost, that's why it's good to hire I don't like to show this slide too much because I was going to say it's good to hire a green consultant. But anyway, really, in the end, if your construction cost is given as a 1, an architect will charge you maybe 10% of that for design fees. Maybe a green consultant will charge you about 0.3% of that. But then, compared to the operating and maintenance cost, that 3 and 200 times more than the building, because the building lasts very long, it might be worth it, no? So that when you're starting your building, either brand new building or retrofitting your building, maybe look into these green angles already, because then they save you a lot in this area. Huh? Now a little bit about initial cost. Look at this thing. Refrigerator A and B. Refrigerator A, your initial cost is lower than refrigerator B. Okay? Purchase cost. But refrigerator A, it's lower, but its cost of usage is much higher, and its disposal is much higher compared to refrigerator B. Maybe it costs more initially, but it's cheaper to operate and cheaper to dispose of. So that's what green buildings are all about. It's not looking at the initial cost or capital cost. It's looking at the initial cost inclusive of the operational cost, and see that in the long run, you win. in the long run, you make more money. Either you, your tenant, or your client. So I think in the end, I'd like to end with this statement, or this question. Can we afford to go green? I mentioned earlier that 16% more. But then, you can recover. But you know, nowadays, I think this should not be the question. I think this is the better question. Can we afford not to go green? Can we afford not to be left behind by the bandwagon of going green? Can we afford not to be able to absorb all of these things so that we can prepare for a better future for our children, which ultimately was the original definition of sustainability. Meaning, we are borrowing the world from our children and make sure that we use the resources enough for us to survive, but making sure that the generation that comes after us, our children and our children's children, can actually survive in the same world, utilizing equivalent resources for their sustainability. With that, I'd like to thank you for listening. I hope I didn't bore you to high heavens.